The story of Bob and Jane. So, Bob and Jane want to be real estate investors. So Bob finds a real estate agent and spends the next 3 weekends looking at a bunch of properties. After another week of negotiating back and forth, he finally gets an offer accepted. 2 months in, and after $15,000 in extra fees like mortgage broker commission, real estate agent's commissions, and legal fees, Bob finally can call himself a real estate investor. Meanwhile, Jane uses our turnkey real estate program. And within 30 minutes, she selects one of our premium, already tenanted, already managed investment properties. A couple of days later, her financing and legal paperwork is done by our in-house team, all for a discounted rate. And since all of turnkey real estate properties are already generating a positive cash flow, she gets a passive income from day one. So, for the rest of the time, unlike Bob, she goes and relaxes on the beach. Meanwhile, Bob is frantically looking for a tenant. After weeks of advertising and showing his property, he finally finds one, and for a while, he gets paid rent. But Bob didn't buy in an area that could produce positive cash flow. He had to dip into his savings each month to pay the insurance, property taxes, maintenance fees, and of course, the mortgage payments. However, Bob wasn't bothered much about his negative cash flow until what happened next. Bob's tenant got laid off, so he couldn't pay the rent. And what's more, the tenant refused to leave. So Bob had to spend more money on a lawyer to evict the tenant, which took another 3 months. And during all this time, Bob didn't receive a single cent, but he still had to pay all the expenses and mortgage payments. Later, he called Jane to share his real estate horror story. But what a coincidence! Jane's tenant was not much better than Bob's. Her tenant was laid off too and also stopped paying the rent. But luckily, Jane is covered by our rental assurance program, which pays Jane 100% of the rent payment if the tenant doesn't pay. So, Jane still gets a nice profit check month after month, even after all expenses and mortgage payments are paid, and even if the tenant missed paying the rent for any reason. Over time, Bob starts to regret buying his investment property. If it's not a tenant problem or something needing repairs, it's one problem after another that was a constant drain of his precious time and energy. Sometimes, he was so stressed out that he felt like he had a second full-time job. One day, when Bob was short on cash, he needed to sell his property because the negative cash flow was draining his savings every month. So Bob sold his property quickly, even though he knew he could get more for it if he waited longer. Luckily, the market had gone up since he bought his property, so he didn't lose any money. But was it worth all that stress and time wasted, he asked himself? On the other hand, turnkey real estate made Jane's investment so hassle-free that sometimes she forgot she even had one. But no worries, we remind her once a month with the rent payments that are automatically deposited into her account. Everything, including any tenant issues, repairs, and expenses, are done for her without her lifting a finger. We even increase the rents for her periodically, so she could get back to doing the things that she loves. And since we only offer properties in areas with high appreciation, Jane's property appreciated 3 times as much as Bob's, but without any headaches. So, who would you like to be, Bob or Jane? Follow Jane and apply for our turnkey real estate program now. Apply today, and we will also show you how you can use your RRSP or home equity to buy your property with us. It only takes a minute, but it may change your life forever. Click the button below and apply now.